The movie begins by introducing a girl named Mi-ri, who works as a bartender in a cafe. Mi-ri has been secretly in love with a young man named Eun-tae and plans to confess her feelings to him. However, just as Mi-ri is about to confess, another girl named Da-sam enters the cafe. It becomes evident that Da-sam is Eun-tae's girlfriend, and they share an affectionate moment. Mi-ri is heartbroken by this sight, and in a spur of the moment, confesses her feelings to a young man named Dae-kung, who has just arrived at the cafe. The story then takes us back to Mi-ri's past, when she and her friend Da-sam were discussing their college life and future plans. Mi-ri had always been shy and had difficulty making friends, often changing schools due to her parents' job. However, her life took a turn when she became a transfer student and met the beautiful and outgoing Da-sam. They quickly formed a deep friendship and enjoyed spending time together doing various activities. After high school, Mi-ri was admitted to a prestigious university in South Korea. Recognizing Mi-ri's shyness, Da-sam encouraged her to step out of her comfort zone and embrace a more exciting college life. One of the challenges Mi-ri faced was finding a part-time job and making friends on campus. At first, she felt pessimistic, but decided to gather her courage because she didn't want to continue being a lonely girl without friends. While on campus, their professor assigned them to form teams of 3 for a webtoon project. Mi-ri, who was shy, felt anxious because she didn't have any friends yet. Fortunately, a young man named Tae-min approached Mi-ri and suggested that she team up with Dae-kung, since he also didn't have a team. However, Dae-kung declined the offer and wanted to work on the project alone. Understanding the importance of teamwork, Mi-ri reached out to Dae-kung and asked him to join their team. Reluctantly, Dae-kung agreed, even though he found Tae-min annoying. Eventually, he decided to leave and invited Mi-ri to go with him. After leaving the campus, Mi-ri thanked Dae-kung for joining their team, and he offered to accompany her to a job interview. Mi-ri extended her hand for a handshake, feeling a bit awkward. But to her delight, Dae-kung shook her hand. This small gesture made Mi-ri happy because it showed Dae-kung's willingness to be her friend. Mi-ri soon secured a part-time job as a bartender in a cafe and called Da-sam to share the news. She also mentioned Dae-kung. Da-sam playfully teased Mi-ri, suggesting that Dae-kung might become her boyfriend, but Mi-ri quickly denied it, stating that Dae-kung wasn't her type. After her call with Da-sam, who was in Italy, Mi-ri began sketching her ideal man's face, even though Da-sam thought it was unrealistic. At 9 p.m., a customer entered the cafe, and Mi-ri was surprised because he resembled her ideal man. It was Eun-tae, a regular customer who always came at that time. Mi-ri felt awkward initially, but she soon discovered that Eun-tae was a kind and friendly young man. As Mi-ri was leaving, Eun-tae offered her a drink and walked her to the bus stop since they lived in the same direction. Mi-ri was impressed by Eun-tae's habit of carrying cat food and feeding stray cats they encountered on the street. Over the next few days, Mi-ri and Eun-tae became good friends as he always accompanied her after work. Sometime later, during a lunch break on campus, Mi-ri and Dae-kung discovered that they had opposite food preferences. Mi-ri liked egg whites, while Dae-kung preferred egg yolks. They decided to exchange their food, and Mi-ri suggested that they have lunch together more often to share meals. After Dae-kung left, 2 girls approached Mi-ri and asked if she and Dae-kung were dating because they appeared close. Mi-ri quickly denied it, explaining that they were just friends working on the same project. The 2 girls then shared some information about Dae-kung, mentioning that he wasn't keen on making friends, even when seniors tried to befriend him through welcoming parties. They also mentioned that Dae-kung had ignored advances from the most beautiful and popular girl on campus when she tried to date him. Upon learning this, Mi-ri was surprised to discover that Dae-kung was quite popular on their campus, even though she couldn't deny his good looks. That evening, Mi-ri asked Eun-tae to leave early to catch the last bus, but Eun-tae chose to wait for her as she tied her shoelaces. The following night, out of kindness, Mi-ri gave something to Eun-tae, while expressing her desire to visit Florence, Italy, a romantic city. At the same time, Eun-tae also hoped to visit Florence with someone he loved. The next day, while discussing their project in a cafe, Tae-min intentionally spilled beer, wetting Dae-kung's hand and making him angry. Dae-kung wanted to retaliate but didn't want to scare Mi-ri, so he chose to leave. After Dae-kung left, Tae-min warned Mi-ri to avoid Dae-kung, mentioning that senior students on campus had blacklisted him for not showing respect. Tae-min tried to flirt with Mi-ri, but was interrupted when Dae-kung returned and poured beer on Tae-min intentionally. Enraged, Tae-min then punched Dae-kung. Later, Mi-ri was seen tending to Dae-kung's wounds from the punch. She advised him to be more respectful to seniors, especially after rejecting their drinks. Dae-kung then explained that he avoided sharing utensils with many people due to hygiene concerns. He also confessed to receiving a failing grade in his major class because he often skipped a queue for a rare and limited edition action figure. Additionally, Dae-kung clarified that he hadn't meant to ignore the female senior who approached him because he was wearing earphones at the time and didn't hear her. They continued to drink together, and with the influence of alcohol, Mi-ri revealed to Dae-kung that the male lead character in her webtoon was her ideal man. And she asked Dae-kung for advice on how to make her crush fall in love with her, to which Dae-kung advised her to be herself. However, Mi-ri was too drunk to dwell on his words and ended up falling asleep. The following day, after hearing a campus radio broadcast about love confessions, Mi-ri decided to confess her love to Eun-tae that night. She dressed up and sent a text message to Da-sam, informing her of her plans. Meanwhile, Dae-kung, who was on campus, realized that he had accidentally taken Mi-ri's sketchbook when he accompanied her home the previous night. As Mi-ri prepared to confess her feelings to Eun-tae, Da-sam suddenly appeared, revealing that she and Eun-tae knew each other. Mi-ri learned about their close relationship when Eun-tae warmly greeted Da-sam and hugged her. Surprised, Mi-ri asked them how they had met, and Da-sam explained that Eun-tae was her dream man from Florence. Eun-tae, in turn, disclosed that Da-sam was his girlfriend, and he planned to take her back to Florence someday. Shortly after, Dae-kung arrived at the cafe to return Mi-ri's sketchbook. However, Da-sam received a text message from Mi-ri about her intention to confess to her ideal man. Feeling cornered, Mi-ri reluctantly told Dae-kung that she liked him, even though her true feelings were for Eun-tae. Understanding her predicament, Dae-kung reached out to Mi-ri, claiming he also liked her, to spare her embarrassment in front of Da-sam and Eun-tae. Some time later, Mi-ri apologized to Dae-kung for using him for her benefit. Dae-kung understood her situation, knowing that Mi-ri had a crush on Eun-tae, and Da-sam was her best friend. Surprisingly, Dae-kung suggested that they pretend to be in a relationship, as it would help Mi-ri hide her feelings from Eun-tae and Da-sam. He argued that pretend dating was a theme in the webtoon he was working on, and Mi-ri reluctantly agreed to Dae-kung's proposal to fake a relationship. That evening, Da-sam asked Mi-ri about her sudden interest in Dae-kung, as Mi-ri had previously mentioned that he wasn't her type. Mi-ri explained that she had misjudged Dae-kung, and that he was actually a good person who had been helpful and attentive from the beginning. Da-sam then encouraged Mi-ri to ask Dae-kung for a double date, expecting him to decline. However, Dae-kung surprised Mi-ri by agreeing to the idea. On the weekend, Eun-tae and Da-sam appeared affectionate as a loving couple, while Mi-ri and Dae-kung seemed awkward. During a movie at the cinema and lunch at a restaurant, Mi-ri felt a twinge of jealousy seeing Eun-tae's attentiveness to Da-sam. Dae-kung tried to pay more attention to Mi-ri by rolling up her sleeves, ensuring Eun-tae and Da-sam wouldn't suspect anything. Da-sam suggested that they should have more double dates before leaving with Eun-tae. On the other hand, Mi-ri confessed to Dae-kung that she was in a tough situation, having fallen in love with Eun-tae, who was not only Da-sam's boyfriend but also her only friend. Dae-kung advised Mi-ri to try hating Eun-tae, prioritizing her own feelings to avoid constant heartbreak from Eun-tae's lack of affection. After contemplating Dae-kung's advice, Mi-ri decided to distance herself from Eun-tae to start hating him as suggested. She had planned to quit her job at the cafe, but decided to postpone her resignation because the cafe owner needed her help while his wife was in the hospital. Not long after, Eun-tae came to the cafe to ask about Da-sam's birthday preferences. Mi-ri sought advice from Dae-kung, who recommended finding flaws in Eun-tae to foster hatred. However, Mi-ri liked everything about Eun-tae, from his looks to his kind demeanor. One evening, Mi-ri met Dae-kung, who was waiting outside a building. She couldn't find any faults in Eun-tae and confessed that she saw him as a perfect man. During their conversation, Dae-kung coughed, prompting Mi-ri to buy a blanket for him. Dae-kung in turn covered Mi-ri with the same blanket, showing their growing closeness. The next day, Da-sam discussed Eun-tae's pickiness and perfectionism with Mi-ri. At campus, Dae-kung suggested that Mi-ri imagine Eun-tae as a bad person. However, Taemin appeared and insulted Dae-kung, provoking Mi-ri to defend him. After Taemin left, Mi-ri got an idea to act like Taemin to make Eun-tae dislike her. She and Dae-kung began spying on Taemin, but Taemin seemed to notice them, so they left in haste. Their hurried departure nearly led to an accidental hug, creating an awkward moment before Mi-ri decided to leave Dae-kang behind. That evening, Mi-ri attempted to annoy Eun-tae to make him dislike her, but he quickly saw through her act and asked if something was bothering her. At home, Mi-ri asked Da-sam about her birthday wishes, and Da-sam expressed a desire to go camping with Eun-tae. Da-sam invited Mi-ri and Dae-kang to join them, and to her surprise, Dae-kang agreed, despite having no camping experience. Mi-ri noticed the growing closeness between herself and Dae-kang. The next day, a fellow student named Ji-yoon asked Mi-ri to introduce her to Dae-kang because she liked him. Mi-ri was hesitant at first, but eventually introduced Ji-yoon to Dae-kang. However, Mi-ri couldn't help but feel uncomfortable seeing Dae-kang and Ji-yoon getting close, even though they were just pretending to date. The weekend finally arrived, and Mi-ri anxiously waited for Dae-kang, who was running late for their camping trip. When Dae-kang arrived and apologized for his tardiness, they'd all headed to the campsite. Dae-kang then offered Mi-ri some food he had cooked, leading to a moment of misunderstanding about him wanting to feed her. Later, Da-sam suggested they play truth or dare to add some excitement. Mi-ri asked Eun-tae what he liked about Da-sam, and he replied that he liked everything about her. In the next round, Da-sam asked Dae-kang if he had something to say to Mi-ri, and he confessed that he genuinely liked her. Shocked by Dae-kang's confession, Mi-ri decided to leave, but Dae-kang followed her, assuring her that his feelings were genuine. He revealed that he had liked her since their first meeting, when she helped him during the university entrance exam. Dae-kang also admitted that he pretended to like chicken breast just to share his food with Mi-ri during lunch at the campus cafeteria. He also confessed to Ji-yoon that he likes Mi-ri and then left her abruptly, feeling upset that Mi-ri only saw him as a friend and had tried to avoid her and hate her. However, Dae-kang couldn't hate Mi-ri because he liked her too much, so he decided to end their fake relationship. The situation worsened when Mi-ri returned to the campsite and found that Da-sam had discovered her secret about liking Eun-tae. Da-sam had seen Mi-ri's sketchbook and learned about her feelings. Feeling betrayed, Da-sam left Mi-ri. In the following days, Eun-tae apologized to Mi-ri for not realizing her feelings earlier and explained that Da-sam hadn't seen the sketchbook but had overheard Mi-ri and Dae-kang talking about her crush. Da-sam intended to end her relationship with Eun-tae to spare Mi-ri's feelings, but Eun-tae expressed his love for Da-sam and encouraged Mi-ri to accept their love. The following day, while on campus, Mi-ri, who was about to have lunch, accidentally met Da-sam in the cafeteria, but Da-sam decided to leave upon seeing Mi-ri. Feeling sad, Mi-ri decided to leave, but Ji-yoon and her friend tripped her on purpose, causing her to fall, and they mocked her. Unexpectedly, Da-sam appeared and defended Mi-ri, giving Ji-yoon and her friend a lesson for insulting her. Da-sam and Mi-ri later apologized to each other, and their friendship was restored. Da-sam helped Mi-ri realize that she truly loved Dae-kang in real life, not just as an ideal man. Later on, Mi-ri tried to meet Dae-kang at his home and called him, but he appeared behind her. She confessed her love to him and shared her desire to create a romantic campus story together. Dae-kang didn't respond immediately, making Mi-ri think he no longer liked her. To her surprise, Dae-kang embraced her and kissed her, showing that he still loved her and accepted her confession. The moral of the story is that when you meet your ideal man, make sure he's a cat lover who enjoys warm Americano, because he might be your friend's boyfriend, and it's best not to fall in love with him.